Voices from the Mausoleum is brought to you by the You Run Podcast Network and yourunpodcast.com.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum, and welcome to another episode of Found Footage Fridays.
Hello.
The day of the week we all look forward to the mostest. Because of the show, obviously.
Yeah. TGIF did not exist before this show.
In case anyone wanted a history lesson on. It's true. So this week we get to talk more new found footage. Which is always a good time. Like I'm so glad we've had newer stuff. Like, not that we still have a ton of stuff we could cover. Like we could do these for years and never cover the same movies, but I love that we're getting some newer stuff and different styles too. I think it's really good. So,
well, the indie genre of horror, right, is sort of, is what's giving us a lot of the new stuff, right? We're not getting a lot of major studio stuff, which is fine because I think we're seeing most creativity in the more independent space anyway. It's
true. No, it's true. Some of the best stuff I've seen has been like in the indie space.
Yeah.
And that movie, that found footage mockumentary film, Gulf of Silence, that Tom and I covered right before I had surgery, is in my top 10 now. And it isn't even released to the public because of some stuff that happened with it, but it was an indie film. It was made by one person.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. I'm going to have to find that too. Because
I have the Vimeo. I can send it to you. But anyway, so today we are talking the 2024 found footage mockumentary. We're not arguing about it. It is one of those two things. Movie that just came out on Shudder this past week. Late Night with the Devil.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know no debate. I mean, this is found footage.
Yeah. I got some debate on Twitter and I was like, no. No. It says, it does the whole spiel at the beginning. It is found footage.
Yeah, this is broadcast footage or behind the scenes at the studio.
A never aired episode or whatever.
Never aired episode. This is like, this pretty much fits the bill.
Yeah, so this got a lot of hype. There was a lot of hype around this, and I didn't get to see it in theaters. I had to wait till it came out on Shudder this past week. But I literally I couldn't wait to watch it. And so, but yeah, what did you think of this? General thoughts. Where were you at with it?
Yeah, I really dug the aesthetic of the movie. Beyond just the found footage, like the way it looked was just really cool. Like, I think they nailed the 70s late night show
totally agree.
feel. Even with the behind the scenes stuff, obviously if it doesn't quite look as dated, it still sort of feels grounded. And how they nailed the performances are fantastic. I mean, obviously David Dastmalchian. But yeah, I mean, I think there's some nitpicks, of course, we can have, with the film, but overall, I'm really happy with it. Is it worth all of the hype? I don't know if every film is. If any film ever truly matches the hype,
Yeah.
But I would watch this again. I enjoyed it. I got to see it in theaters, so that was cool. And watched it again on Shudder. So I'm really happy with this.
Yeah, I really liked this as well. My two biggest complaints are how clean the black and white scenes looked. I think they really should have put in some more time with those. And I did have some struggles with the ending, which obviously we're not going to talk about right now. We'll talk about when we get to the spoiler section in just a few minutes. But other than that, so I'm probably going to reference this multiple times in this episode. Sorry, not sorry. If you have not seen the 1980s ghost movie, GhostWatch, it is impossible that Late Night with the Devil was not influenced by.
Oh yeah, they definitely know what that movie was.
and I'm bringing it up not as a complaint, but instead as a compliment, because I absolutely love GhostWatch.
Yeah.
GhostWatch is like a 9 out of 10 for me. It was one of my favorite rando finds. I used to have to watch it on this really weird link that I had to use. Thank God right now it's on Shudder. Yeah. But it's so good. But if you're not familiar, really quick rundown of GhostWatch. There's an episode, Tom and I covered it forever ago, but it's very similar. It's It's along the same vein, except that when it was broadcast live, and people did not know it was fake.
Yeah,
So it
because
was
they were real
they
newscasters.
were real newscasters doing the spiel on a haunted house on Halloween, and things go awry and it turns into this big mess. Such
Yeah.
a film, please go watch it. This almost like, as far as a formula and a concept, is super similar to GhostWatch.
Mhm.
Which I really liked. Which I like, so I think that was one of the reasons I was so into it, because like, oh my God, this is like GhostWatch. But I mean, I agree with you. They nailed the 70s aesthetic. I thought the motivation behind what was going on was believable. There was a couple moments that got me emotionally. I think David Dalmatian, the guy
Oh, I was like, wait.
the guy that plays Jack is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I thought the girl that played Lily was terrifying. Like I loved Carmichael's character. Like, all of these characters, they really bring this home for what it was supposed to be. And I really enjoyed it. I am still sitting on the ending a little bit, because that part wasn't as good to me, but I still really liked it overall. I thought it was a good movie.
Yeah, it sort of falls into, I think, a lot of traps that some found footage movies find themselves in. It's just, we got to end this. We got to end this
And
somehow.
what do we do with it? Yeah,
Right,
what do we
right.
want to show? What do we want to? And I have a lot of things that I kind of like, more like questions I want to ask, like what you got out of certain things when we get to that point. Because there were
Mhm.
just some things where I was like, okay, but I just had some questions. But otherwise, I really liked it. What do you rate this?
I'm gonna give this an 8 for me. I think, right, it loses a
Mhm.
couple of points, I think, for the ending itself, just in general. Like you said, like, you know, the twists in the film, I love the twist. I sort of love the character um development, and sort of, or
Yeah.
undevelopment or whatever. Just have the characters unravel over the time. But I think, as just far as like, it kind of just falls into some of the trappings that a lot of found footage films
I
find
agree.
themselves
Yeah,
in.
I agree with
Yeah,
that.
but I think 8, because I think it's 95% like
I
a
agree.
solid movie.
Yeah. I'm gonna go just a little bit lower, because the ending I really just was like bugged by. I'm gonna give this a 7 out of 10
Okay.
tapes. I
Still
really
good.
liked it. 100% will revisit. I would recommend this to people who like horror. I would recommend this to people who like possession. I would recommend this to people who like found footage, mockumentary style films. I think that this checks a lot of boxes. And I think that David guy, like, we want more of him in horror anyway. He's fantastic.
Yeah, yeah.
He's been in things, but I feel like this is the first thing where he's been like the main
Like,
focus.
really able to shine, because he's
And
in Smile, but
he's
not
in
much.
no,
Demeter, he's in that.
he's in Demeter. Oh my God, you know what else he's in? He's in The Dark Knight.
That's right. He is in The Dark Knight.
But yeah, he's been around the block, but he never got like a main, at least nothing that I can think of off the top of my head that was mainstream. And I love that he got an opportunity with this, because I just have a feeling we're going to see a lot more of him now. I really do.
Yeah, yeah. He
And
definitely has sort of main character material, right? He's just
he
able to. He can
100%,
carry
like,
a movie.
he nailed the character of Jack from start to finish. I believed everything he said. You know what I mean? Like, I just bought it. Um, But yeah, I highly recommend. If you've not seen this yet, we're going to jump into spoilers in just a second. But if you've not seen it, it is streaming on Shudder.
Hmm.
Definitely worth a watch.
We get a double feature with GhostWatch. Honestly,
Oh my
that
God, please somebody do a double feature and then talk about it, because that's what I've been saying literally all week. I've been like, y'all, this is the perfect double feature, is the
it
Ghost Watch.
really actually is.
You can do Late Night of the Devil first because it's the 70s, and then do Ghost Watch because it's in the 80s. Like, and they're
Yeah,
both on Shudder. It's like literally meant to be.
yeah.
Makes you wonder. I wonder if that's why Ghostwatch is suddenly on Shudder. I bet it is. But
They were
anyway,
like, perfect curating. Well, that the
it's
Shutter's all about curating, right? They're
yeah.
like,
They got like the whole guy that's the curator and everything. Yeah,
yeah,
I think but yeah, you should definitely go watch this. It is definitely worth a gander. I really liked it. So
yeah. Shall
yeah.
we hop into some spoilers?
Yeah, you want to throw the thing up?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't want to start at the end. That's like my instinct is to talk about the ending first,
Yeah.
because that's the thing I had the most.
Let's
But
do it
without
in acts, right?
yeah,
So the way it opens with this sort of mockumentary introduction of like his rise and fall in
that
life,
was so well done. Yeah.
and I love that they have him sort of pitted against Late Night with
First
Johnny Carson. Yeah.
Johnny Carson. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like, it sort of puts this fictional character in this very real world,
It,
but it's done so believably.
it is the little news clippings and like so well done. Really, really well done. I bought all of this. Like the setup for this, especially when we get to the pieces with his wife.
Yeah.
Like that's the part where like I think right after that is when we had our brief phone call and I was telling you like I made a message. I can't remember if I messaged or told you on the phone, but I was telling you like the part with the wife, like that hurt my heart. Like and
Yeah.
it's not like I feel like I've been saying this lately, but normally like horror movies, it's really hard for me to be like, like it just doesn't happen that often. But lately it's been happening a lot. Like I was emotional for him. Like when she's
Yeah.
sitting there and she's got the lung cancer and she can barely get out the cute things that you want to hear her say. And then they mouth the I love yous to each other. You're just like, oh my God. Like I bought into all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just those 2 actors really sort of brought it home on top of the way that the editor and the
The
writers,
way
right,
he
really.
the way he looked at her with
Yeah.
like that red in his eyes that we've all had looking at somebody that we love that's going through something, maybe not to that extent, but like I don't know, like it was so good. And I think it really solidified as a viewer my investment in Jack and wanting him to succeed and understanding his motivation and kind of just believing like, yeah, let's do whatever we can to help you. You know what I mean? Like I just kind of
Yeah.
bought into all of that based
The
on the intro.
stakes for why he would do this broadcast are
Mhm.
set so well, and I think, like, that's where, like, a lot of, found footage films sort of falter a little bit is the, "Why is the camera rolling?"
The
Right? This is sort
motivation.
of their version of, "Why is the camera rolling?"
No, it is, totally is. Yeah.
And, like, it works.
Yeah. No, I think it
Um,
works really, really, really well.
how did you feel about the structure, sort of, like, because he's slowly, like, because he brings in, I think, first the psychic,
Yeah, Carlo,
Carlo, right?
Carlo, something like that.
Um
It's Carlou. I just can't remember how to pronounce it. Carlu?
Hold on, I'm gonna pull up late night. So he pulls up this psychic. Christo.
Cristo. OU though. I was still right about the OU.
Yeah. So Christo is sort of our first like medium, right? He's
Oh, it's
on
because
there.
the other guy's name is Carmichael. Anyway, yeah. Cristo.
Yeah, I Christo is a fun character.
I really loved Krista. You know what I thought was interesting though? I thought it was interesting that he's kind of meant to be this like inflated caricature of himself, right? But then there's like this moment of reality where like you can see his reactions to being made fun of and put in that box. And like I felt for him too. Like at the same time that he was
Yeah,
like silly and you're like, oh yeah, like there was that moment in particular where he was like, no, that's not what I said. Like he's trying to be taken so
yeah,
serious and everybody just thinks it's an act and it's a show. But then when something really bad happens and like I felt for him, like I was surprised that I was able to care that much about a character in that archetype. Like, but I did. I cared so much about him. Like I think
yeah.
I felt a lot of things for him and I really liked his character a lot.
You're right. I think it's so much in like his performance and like how he responds to the
Yeah.
skeptic, right? And how he responds to sort of
Oh,
the laughter. It's a lot of
yeah,
it's a lot of facial acting
it is.
too, right?
It's just reactions.
It's a
Yeah.
lot of reaction because it's also him like getting messages and sort of
Yep.
responding and sort of
Yeah.
as shit hits the fan too, and he's
Yeah.
sort of getting this intense message from beyond. Oof, that really that moment right when he really is getting hit with like the intense or sort of psychic moment, he
Yeah.
played that really well.
He did, and I think, like, that's one of those types of things where that can be so easily overacted,
It could be campy, it could be so like so
and
yeah.
it wasn't like so there was somebody I was talking to on Twitter today about it, and they were like, "Yeah, it just kept towing the line of comedic," and I didn't feel that way about this. I thought that there were things that were meant to be funny, like how many damn title cards there are in the very beginning, where it's like title card after title card after title card,
Yeah,
but or
which is
not
very
title
late night,
card, but you
right?
know
Which
what I
is
mean?
very
Yeah, exactly. So, but I didn't think this was comedic at all. I didn't
no.
find any of this funny. I thought it was very like, but I really liked that character. And I don't know if you noticed this. Tasha sent me a voice note because she's rewatched this movie like 4 times. She sent me a voice note and she was like, she said this and I didn't catch this. But you know how Christo is like says mini And
Yes.
he finally connects and he's like, okay, I think that message was actually for me because it was a secret pet name, right?
Mhm.
The episode when his wife comes on, that's what he says. He says, I love you, Minnie. She
Oh,
says,
yeah.
I love you, Jack. She mouths it. She doesn't say it out loud. And then he says, I love you, Minnie, is what he mouths. And
Oh.
so I'm kind of glad I didn't notice it, honestly, because hearing it secondhand, you're like, ooh, like, like there's just something to that where you're just like, okay,
Right, right. It would have
interesting.
spoiled it a little bit if you were able to read those lips, right? Read his
Yeah,
lips.
because when he said it, I was like, his wife, like, it was like this moment of whatever. But anyway, but yeah, he was great. I really, really liked him. What did you think of Carmichael,
Oh, man. This was interesting. That's the skeptic, right?
the skeptic?
You know,
The skeptic who makes his money pretending to be
to
all the
be
things
like
that he doesn't believe in.
he's really a hypnotist,
He's a
really. He's
hypnotist
a
and
hypnotist.
like a magician kind of thing.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I think this kind of character piece can this character can be very easily grating. This but I think it's sort of the balance between
Yes.
everyone being like, "No, you're you're full of bullshit,"
Yeah.
and I think you sort of had like powerful voices on either side, and it made
Yeah.
sort of a very interesting dynamic, and it wasn't very one sided, and it kind of felt they all played off of each other very well.
I think you hit the nail right on the head with that because he really towed the line of intolerable.
Yeah,
But you were amused by him, like not in a comedic way, but I just was like, he's about to get he's something bad's man.
you were waiting for his sort of like comeuppance, right?
But like that scene with him,
Your
after
hypnotism
and I
scene.
know we're gonna touch on Lily and the doctor and stuff, but when Carmichael does the scene with I forget the guy that's dressed like a devil.
So Gus.
Gus, thank you. I couldn't remember his name. So when he does the whole like thing with Gus and the worms,
Mhm.
I was like, see, you know what I mean? Like I was like part of the audience. It did a really good job of making you feel that way throughout because you're just like, uh-huh, what you got for that, sir? Like you're just like, but then it was like, but then because there's that moment too where he's like, he pretends like so I don't actually know. I think this could be open for interpretation. But he says this isn't supposed to happen this way. And then
Mm.
that's what Carmichael says with the worms. Okay. So when they
Oh,
replay the tape and it's all different, it cuts it before that part. So I don't know if that part was part of the illusion or if he really did lose control for a minute and was seeing some things he didn't think he was going to see.
yeah, interesting. I think definitely, I think, right, the demon could have had some sort of influence over it,
I'm
right?
wondering. I think it's a little vague, but I don't think that that's a bad thing. I just think that with that scene was so intense. And
Yeah.
then for them to play it back and be like, "Oh, nothing there." I was like,
Right, they were
I
like, "Ha,
texted
ha."
Tasha and I was like, "Man, he's got me wondering, was I hypnotized watching this movie?" Like, it was good. That part was good. I really liked it.
Yeah, because I think it also asks us as a viewer to participate,
It
right?
does, and it makes us think that he was able to hypnotize us. I
Yeah.
looked at that little swirly thing. I was like, I'm in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, let's alright, let's play along.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was like, I'm not taking my eyes off. And then of course they kept jumping around with it. But I thought that was I genuinely loved the role that Carmichael took in the overall story because I think, and this is again, I'm gonna reference GhostWatch, but the thing is GhostWatch had a skeptical, not real situation. And I think what is it's not Ghost Adventure, Grave Encounters. Grave
Mhm.
Encounters did the same thing where they've got these fake out things that aren't real,
Oh,
that
yeah.
are planned and whatever. But then that works really well when you're tying it into things that are really happening because then it makes that stuff more believable, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah, yeah. And it
Yeah.
just adds an extra layer of sort of deception with the characters and
Hmm.
how like they don't know what to trust, we don't know what to trust, and it
Yeah.
kinda yeah,
Yeah.
there's multiple layers there that are very interesting as
Mhm.
far as, like, narratively speaking.
Yeah. No, totally agree. Totally agree. What about all right, Lily and the
Yeah,
doctor?
Doctor what is that? Madeline, right?
We've said her name like 100 times, and I do not remember what it is.
The Lily and Madeline, right?
Madeline, that sounds right, yeah.
Yeah.
No, is
No, Madeline's
Madeline
the
the
wife.
wife?
June. June's the daughter.
June.
Sorry.
No,
I'm like
you're
looking at IMDb. I'm like, wait a minute. No, this is
yeah,
so really in June.
Madeline was Minnie, the wife, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, you said it in the non-spoiler part, which is like this girl, Ingrid Torelli. Whoo, she's good.
Girl, she's got a future ahead of her in horror because she was terrifying.
She was very. She sort of played this like, yeah, like obviously we know she's possessed, but almost just like, oh my god, what's the what, like there's just like this kind of darkness behind her eyes and the way that she sort of the way that it was like all the facial acting, the
And the
tone.
tone of her voice.
Man, not schizophrenic. What am I what's the diagnosis that I'm thinking of?
Dissociative identity?
That's a little bit dissociative.
Bipolar. No.
No, when you have like no emotions.
Oh, I don't know. Psychopath.
Oh my god.
Sociopath.
Sociopath. No, sociopath. Yeah.
Okay.
That was it. That
I
was
was
it.
gonna keep saying stuff.
Very sociopathic, right? It just sort of like clearly like just
Drug addict. No.
like I'm acting like a human because I think that's how humans act kind of attitude, right?
Every time she said, "Thank you, Jack," I died a little inside. I was like, nope.
Ooh.
She was scary. She did a
But
great
that
job.
backstory was wild too. So she was like rescued from this cult, right? So we sort of get this,
Abraxas.
we get a little bit of this like cult backstory, and
Which
so
was
she's
cool.
like,
I like that.
yeah, and she's sort of like the survivor of that,
The lone survivor.
lone survivor of it, right?
Yeah.
Or because they all burned in a fire, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So really, really intense story to cover on late night. But that alone, the possession aside, like to cover that on just like a fun Halloween.
It was
episode,
because it's supposed to be like a Halloween episode, but it was sweep. He was trying to get ratings up because he wanted to be Carson, so he was trying to get some crazy
with
stuff.
those sweeps, which is that the sweeps week was a thing well until like streaming started because I remember that was when like Grey's Anatomy would do all their crazy episodes. Is always Sweeps Week in November and Sweeps Week. I think there was one in like February, I think, or something.
Yeah, and that's why, because they want.
Yeah, it was always like that was when like there was like a giant like train crash or something. It was always like something
right, some over the top. Yeah.
But anyway,
yeah,
I loved June. I thought too, also just a great performance. I liked June's relationship with Jack. Sort of this like pushing her kind of dynamic,
almost manipulative,
very manipulative. Yeah.
He definitely hit it well, though. I think is the thing. Like I think it's their interactions worked the way that they did because she really thought he was doing something good.
Mm-hmm.
And then she got there and then she was like, you son of a bitch. Like, it switched gears very quickly because she realized that the motivation was not as pure as she originally thought.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That she was there to sort of like, just sort of really share her findings, right? And sort of share Lily's story.
Right. And then he wanted her to bring the demon forth. And then that was when it kind of started, which I thought that whole scene was really, really good. I think that's pretty typical possession stuff, but I liked that the voice wasn't silly.
Mm-mm.
I liked that the voice didn't say silly things regarding sexual appendages. I'm glad that
it didn't have to go and like
no,
it was more manipulation and like getting at Jack's history. Right.
So different. Yeah. I loved that. I thought that was really, really good. I loved that when they went back to play the tape, though, it wasn't changed.
Yeah.
Because that made me nervous. I was like, oh, no. But then when they went back, because that's what they did to disprove the worms. Then when they went back and they're just kind of like, what you got now, Carmichael? That.
Right. Because she floats at one point too, right?
She floats. Her face changes. She
the
does
makeup
the
was good too on that.
Voice. Yeah. Very simple, but good.
Right. It didn't have to be over the top.
Yeah.
I'm glad we didn't get the CGI elongation.
I hate that. I'm so tired of seeing that.
I am over that.
And then I know we want to spend some time before we get to the end of like our episode. Like I want to talk about the ending because the ending was a little too much, I think. I noticed you said earlier, the word twist. Are you referring to the fact that he made a deal?
So I guess it wasn't really a twist because I think they really heavily hinted at the fact that like
he definitely had some, Some
he
involvement.
like I don't but that's the thing is I don't know how complicit he was in it either, right? Because I think the whole point of
Yeah,
it is sort of the lore of Hollywood and what you do for fame, right? Because
sure.
on a microcosm, it's sort of like June knows that she's sort of going into very unethical territory with what
Mhm.
and she's sort of lured in because she's being peer pressured on live television, right? That's the microcosm. The bigger
Sure.
part is like David Jack is part of this like behind the scenes sort of like gentlemen's sort of under the table club
Right.
camp thing, like
Yep.
which is a real rumor too, but that's like an actual
Yep.
thing like people speculate
Yeah.
on, right? The conspiracy theories around like this like camp that all these like powerful men go to.
Yep.
I think he also was sort of peer pressured in a way, and I don't think he realized I don't think he explicitly went in and was like he's like I'm going to sacrifice my life.
He didn't
Uh,
know.
I don't think yeah.
But I think that's the point. To your point, though, I think that's kind of the whole point is like you don't really know what you're doing when you do something like that. But
Yeah.
I thought that all of that stuff where we like get the wife scenes and all of these things are happening, like my biggest question is with this being footage, how are we seeing all of that? Okay. And
Because the
what is
yeah.
because I know that I know, like, I think I know, like, what the point was is like, oh, well, the demon's related to what you're seeing in his head that's not really there. It's related to the hypnosis. It's related to the power of suggestion. It's related
Mhm.
to all of these things. But I think that that part felt so disconnected because I really think, honestly, ending with her little demon face in the static, I think would have been a perfect ending. I didn't think it
Yeah.
needed the last like 8 minutes of film where we get all these random shots and then you zoom out and he's killed the
Lily.
girl.
Yeah.
At least we don't know, I guess, if she killed everybody else. But I mean, if he killed everybody else, because what we see is her kill everybody else
Right.
and
Right.
he gets away.
I think we're left to question, right, what we just saw because we don't have the privilege of them rolling it back for us, right?
Yeah, and so, like, what was real and what wasn't, I guess, yeah, because it's like
Yeah.
because that was my other thing was, okay, so was she ever really possessed? Was this all manipulation from the demon and the things that Jack made a deal with? Like, what was the I don't
Mm.
know, like, it's just I think it opened up too much, like, too many questions as
Yeah.
opposed to just leaving it slightly ambiguous.
Making it a little bit cleaner.
It felt yeah, and I think I liked I liked it conceptually. I liked what they were trying to do with that ending and,
Mhm.
and the scenes that happened. And it was this very interesting way to see Jack's inside of his brain, right? As all these things are happening. But that final shot where it zooms out and he is stabbed Lily in the chest, I was like, I don't know. It just kind of like, it just like snatched me out of it because
Yeah.
I spent the whole movie thinking Lily bad,
Mhm.
and then like I don't know, like, that part just was, like, I don't know, for me. It just felt too chaotic and unnecessary.
Yeah. I'm wondering if in some way the demon sort of saw him kind of going back on the deal in some way or there
Oh,
was right. So like
yeah,
this framing him for the murder of this girl, I think is just sort of the demon being like, you, this is like, this is me punishing you.
yeah,
Right.
you reap what you sow, so to speak.
Right. So it's like your fame, you're never getting that back because now you're going to prison
Or the opposite, now you're gonna be super famous for something you really don't wanna be famous
or
for.
you're famous for for
Because
this. Yeah.
she says that to him. Lily says that. She says, "I have a feeling you're going to be very famous soon, Jack."
Oh, that's right. That's right. So
And you're
that's his
just
thing.
like,
Yeah. Yeah. That's his like genie wish, right?
"Yep."
That's his like, yeah. Yeah.
It's like the every time you ever see anything with wishes, it's like, be careful what you wish for because you don't know how it's
Hmm.
gonna turn out. It's like that episode of What We Do in the Shadows when Nandor and Gilmore are like trying to write out all the rules for the change in manhood size because they don't want
Oh,
any weird
yes.
things. He's like, oh, and you can't make his bigger by making everyone else's smaller.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the thing though, is like it's be careful what you wish for.
Right, right. Yeah, I think that's really what it is.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
what they're giving us.
could be.
But yeah, but as far as yeah, like you said, like as why are we seeing what we're seeing? I think it's just yeah, I think they do a good job at sort of establishing like, okay, we as the viewers can be manipulated just by watching it.
Yeah.
So that's established. So now we're
Yeah.
left to wonder, are we being manipulated by what we're seeing, or this is, you know, how it's playing out the way it is.
Yeah, I think it worked better with the worms than it
Mhm.
did the ending. But
Yeah.
I think part of that is because it's the ending and you're looking for something a little more clear.
Yeah.
Um, because it felt like it was going to be a pretty basic wrapped up story. Oh, she killed everybody and that's all she wrote, right? But then it was like that wasn't what happened. And I really had to sit on it for a couple of days to decide if I even liked it that much or not, because I was so like whiplashed by the ending.
Yeah.
And I think my consensus after I was talking about it is that I do like it. I do think it's probably the weakest point of the film, but I do think I like it. Other than the black and white. The black and white shots really needed to have been edited to look older than they were, because they were so clean. Like the black and
Very
white are
crisp.
so clean.
It
Like
was
it was
too
shot with like
HD.
an iPhone Pro or something. Like I was so
Yeah.
bothered
Black and
because
white filter.
they spent so much time making the rest of it look authentic. I'm like, y'all couldn't take the little bit extra time there. Like it just would have been better, I think. But
Yeah.
anyway, I digress. But no, I really did like this though. I think this was really good. I agree with you. I don't think it's all up there with the hype, but I do think it's a good movie. I would recommend it to people.
Yeah. No, it's so good. I mean, it's going to be, I think, probably one of the best horror of the year, like
I'm
mainstream
inclined
horror.
to agree.
Just by virtue of it being
I'm with
so
you.
as solid as it
No, I
is.
agree. No, I totally
Yeah.
agree. You're not going to hear any arguing out of me. I agree.
Yeah.
More
Yeah.
David Dalmatian in horror, please.
I'm sure it's coming. I almost want to look at like what he's got on his IMDb
Yeah,
coming down the
I'm
line.
sure. I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay, cool. Well, I think that's gonna wrap up this episode of Found Footage Fridays. Next week, very exciting stuff. Steve and I are gonna be doing a I'm gonna say it backwards, non-spoiler review of Horror in the High Desert 3 Firewatch. We were very fortunate enough, I may have begged, to get a screener so we could see this ahead of time. So we're gonna be talking about that next week. So you can't watch it before you watch the episode, but don't worry, it'll be spoiler free. So hopefully you'll be excited about that, as we are excited to talk about it. So otherwise, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us on this Found Footage Friday. We hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy your week coming up, and we'll see you in the next one.